Austin's nice. Hear me out. Langston. All right. Robert. My grandpa? I kind of like Justin.
This one's for you. Nice to meet you, Justin.
If you are transgender or non-binary and go by a different first name, let's update your eligible Citi credit card.
Welcome to Paley Front Row, presented by Citi. I'm Jim Halterman, West Coast Bureau Chief of TV Guide Magazine, and I'm delighted to be your host for this special conversation celebrating Love, Victor. Today, we are thrilled to welcome the series' gifted cast and creative team. Joining us are executive producer Brian Tanen, creators and executive producer Isaac Aptaker and Elizabeth Berger, and cast members George Sear, who plays Benji Campbell, Ana Ortiz, who plays Isabel Salazar, and Victor himself. Please welcome Michael Cimino. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm such a fan of the show, so when they asked me to do this, it was a very quick yes, because this is the kind of show that I wish I had when I was a kid and trying to figure out who I was and my sexuality and all those things. And it also, now that that's all in my past, it brings back so many memories. So congratulations to all of you, because it's been really fun to watch, and season 2 does not disappoint. So we'll get to that too. But this is Pride Month. We're going to celebrate the show. And Michael, talk about when you first read for the show and you were auditioning to play Victor, what you wanted to bring to the character and what you did bring to the character. Obviously, you got the job.
Did I? I don't know. Still feels like a dream. No, I mean, it was honestly like I feel like such a big case of serendipity. I was in the Telsey office, which is the casting office that Love Victor was casted out of, for like a different audition. And I saw that they were casting for Love Victor. I was like, oh, this is cool. But originally that was called Love, Simon the Series. And then I got a call to go and audition like 2 or 3 days later. And I went in and I loved the casting. I loved the sides and everything. It felt really cool and just like something that was different, because it was like Latino and just felt like where I could like represent my people and represent a community that it feels is so underrepresented in like so many different ways. And, I think throughout the whole audition process, I really just wanted to make sure that I was representing the community accurately.
And Michael, let me ask you this too. Did you feel like you had a handle on Victor right away? Because he's a character who's really trying to figure himself out so much in season 1, but did you feel like you had a good handle on him right from the get-go, or were there the conversations that needed to happen a lot?
Well, it was a process, it was a process for me to kind of like establish who Victor was to me and who I was to Victor, if that makes any sense. And like, it definitely took a long time, and the audition process wasn't a short one, but like, it was so worth it because I got to be able to like really hone out who Victor was to me and like who he appears to everyone else. And it kind of was like really awesome. By the time we went to like start shooting episode 1, I felt like I already knew Victor for the most part,
Elizabeth and Isaac, I know, you wrote the movie Love, Simon, so the origins kind of start there. Can you talk about when did the series idea come about? I don't know if it was all at the same time or if it was much later. Can you kind of walk us through, Isaac and Elizabeth?
Sure. We did the movie Love, Simon with Greg Berlanti, and it was just such a charmed experience from beginning to end. It was like a true career highlight for us. And the movie, there was such love for the movie that the producers came to us and asked if we'd ever be interested in continuing the story in the form of a television series. And at first, to be completely honest, we were a little bit reluctant to do it, because it feels like when something goes that well, like why touch it? Why risk messing it up? But as we thought about, what else is there to tell in this universe, we realized one response that we got to the movie was that Simon's journey, Simon's coming out experience was incredibly specific. It was incredibly white, incredibly affluent. He had this built-in support structure of friends since childhood. He had really liberal parents who were going to be okay with it. And that's not everyone's story. And so we realized, why not use the success of the film to tell a completely different story about a completely different kid and family set in that same universe.
And Elizabeth, what could you do to open up the world a lot more with this new character, the new family, but still staying at Creekwood?
I think the thing that was so exciting about doing it for TV is just you get to tell your story so much slower, and you get to grow with your characters, and you get to watch them age and mature, and the situations that they're in get more complex. And that felt really exciting to us, that we could tell sort of season 1, this coming out story, but that's really just the beginning of the story. And then, you know, as we launch into season 2, there's so much more to explore with all our characters. So just having that freedom to expand the world sort of timeline wise was very appealing to us.
Okay. And in the timeline of creating the show, Brian, when did you come into the picture to kind of lend your voice to the show?
Yeah, so I was just a fan of the film. I had nothing to do with the film. And so when Isaac and Elizabeth sort of approached me about co-showrunning in season 1, they had this idea to sort of expand the universe, to start over with a new kid at the same high school. And the very first thing they pitched me was this idea that he would reach out to Simon and say, like, I hear your story. It's so inspirational. And all it makes me want to say is screw you. And I thought that was such a specific take. I knew exactly who this kid was. I knew exactly what his, you know, world experience was going to be. And it seemed ripe for TV to me as well, because he clearly knew that his process would be much more of a journey than could be contained in like a 2-hour movie. So, you know, the three of us sort of came in at that point as Isaac and Elizabeth were writing the pilot, and we sort of mapped out where the show was going. And then in success, we were hoping, as here we are in season 2, that we would also be able to tell stories not just about coming out, but about what it is to be an LGBT teenager, you know, once they're past that initial hurdle.
Yeah, and Elizabeth and Isaac, you know, the whole first season is really him finally saying these words, which are so triumphant when he does say, and that's literally the end of the first season. Was there a lot of talking about when that point should come, or did you guys always know it would be the end of the first season?
I think that always felt right to us. Pretty early on, we arced out our episodes, and it always felt like that was the journey of this season. He's starting from a place where he's, you know, so at the beginning of this journey. He comes from this town where he's never even met another gay person. He hasn't even sort of come to terms, just even for himself personally, with that he is gay. So we really wanted to take the time to tell that story. And we did also just think that was a very exciting place to leave the audience, that it's so triumphant that he finally gets there, and it makes you want to lean in, and it makes you want to come back. So I think pretty early on, I'd say that felt right to us.
And Anna, Isabel is way more than just Victor's mom, because she's got her own backstory. She has issues in her marriage and the family to work through. But talk about what was important to you that you bring to the character.
That's a great question. I have to say, really, paradoxically, I think actually Isabel has brought a lot to me in terms of awareness, because I've been sort of an ally, I have grown up in New York City, just growing up in an artistic world, just always wanted to be a ballet dancer or a singer or an actor and what have you growing up. And so I think I was so, and also, getting to play Hilda on Ugly Betty, who was so sort of pro her son and like would knock anybody out who even looked at him cross-eyed, So I really had to learn how to sort of love Isabel and understand Isabel in a way, because it was just such a foreign concept to me that you wouldn't be super proud of your son or daughter, or whatever, and whatever they're experiencing, whatever they go through. So I really had to dig in a bit with her, and it was exciting and it was upsetting, and I just was so lucky with these incredible writers and incredible showrunners and this unbelievable cast. It was like the chemistry was just there immediately, and it was so we were just all so in love with each other that it was really easy to go deep and get into it. And I was so thankful too that Isabel and Armando and this family actually had a really pretty interesting storyline as well. You always worry about, this is gonna be a teenage show, and it's just gonna be sort of their vibe, you know, and they really magnificently wove all of his stories and his whole life. And it isn't just sort of compartmentalized, you know, it really is how it is in life. So I would say that, you know, Isabel really sort of gave me a lot to think about, and a lot to sort of a lot of conversations now have been had within my own family, you know, on the Puerto Rican side of like the machismo of it, and where are we in this, where do we stand still? You know, this is still pretty intense issue for at least I know if I can speak in the Puerto Rican community. It's still an issue. There's still kids who are terrified to come out. There's still kids who don't know how to have this conversation. So it's just been a real blessing on multiple levels.
I remember actually being surprised because when the show started, and this is bad on me, I assumed the dad had done something wrong because you knew something had gone on in the family. You're like, what did he do? Because I don't know why. I don't know if you guys thought about that at all, but Elizabeth and Isaac and Brian, did you guys think about that at all? Like, to me, it felt like a nice twist for the story and for Anna's character that she was the one that kind of hurt this family.
Yes, it did feel like something different from maybe the normal story that you generally hear. So we liked that. And I think one of the things I keep thinking as we're talking about these characters and the family was like, it was important to us not to villainize an experience where a kid was struggling to come out and his parents were maybe not reacting in the way that is ideal. You know, I think we tend to draw these very black and white, like parents are accepting and we like them or they're not and we don't. And I think in real life, a lot of LGBT teens have parents who don't immediately, you know, say the right thing or go to the right place. So it was important to us to sort of tell a story that was just very human, and so that the mistakes that were made could be understood. And I think we really see this journey in season 2 of the parents as they grapple with this issue. It's clear that they don't 100% get it, but they want to be able to get it. They still love their kid. And I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying, you know, again, I think we take a little bit of a twist from your expectations, and it's mom who has a little bit of a harder time with it than dad. But again, Anna, I think, is such a warm actor, sort of generally, that you don't feel like she's been villainized. You feel like you want to go along with her on the journey and hope that she gets there.
Yeah.
I was going to say off of that, Brian, it's such a testament to Anna's performance throughout season 1 and season 2, which people will see, that she still comes across so well because it's such a warm, vulnerable performance that I think there's a lot of people that would have watched season 1 and said, she had an affair, I hate her, you know, but it's just, you never go there because she feels complex and she feels real, and she's just made the character so 3-dimensional. Season 2, she becomes even more complex, and I do imagine people will have very strong feelings about it, but I think, again, it's such a rich, layered, nuanced performance that I think people will continue to really respond to it because it's quite brilliant in our opinion.
Gosh, now I'm getting emotional. It's because what you guys wrote and this cast too. I mean, it's you know, it's just a dream. It's a dream.
Michael, talk about playing across from Anna in some of these scenes in season 1 and season 2. You get to go. Season 2, it even becomes a little more combative as Victor kind of gets more his own ground. But how we're shooting some of those scenes, Michael?
You know, Anna's honestly just a phenomenal, incredible actor, and like it's always like fun to just kind of like play with levels and play with like different kind of intentions with Anna. And I feel like this season a lot we kind of really got to go at each other a little bit more. I think George might have been on one of those.
Yeah, George and I we went at it too.
We may have had the chance, yes.
Yes, but honestly, like that was really great, and like being able to just kind of like learn from people that are obviously way more experienced than I am, and it's like obviously just been just an incredible experience for me this overall.
Did you just call me old?
No.
And George, let's talk about Benji a little bit. You know, he's at such a different place than Victor. How is it to play some of those scenes where your character is kind of on a different path, or at least a different track than Victor? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like when you meet Benji, he's quite confident. You know, he's been out for a while. So I feel like there's a lot of things that are attractive about him to Victor, and their journey just kind of, particularly in season 2, there's a lot more sort of testing points for them. And there's a lot of things that they sort of go through as a couple. And he's kind of, there's a lot, I don't know how much we can give away about season 2. I just think the fact that like, he's used to being out and being comfortable with his boyfriend in season 1. This is like a big shift for him, and this is a big change for him going forward. So he's in it with Victor in terms of like he wants to be supportive with him, but he also has a lot of his own challenges and a lot of his own things to go through.
Yeah, Michael, can you talk to that a little bit? Because I remember when I was coming out and I'd meet friends who had been out and they were in such a different place, and it was hard. And you played that really well with Victor. But can you talk about what we see in that in season 2 and how far Victor does come after he says, I'm gay? Because I'm guessing it's not like, boom, everything's perfect after that.
No, it's not boom, everything's perfect. You know, this is a television show. There will never be a perfect moment. But I think definitely that, like, you know, this season definitely kind of plays more of Victor just exploring who he is as a gay man in this new world through a gay lens. You know, like, realistically, before he was very confused about his sexuality, and maybe not even necessarily confused, but more like not really accepting of it. And now he's like, all right, I'm going to accept who I am, not only my sexuality, but who I am as a person. And so it's much more about like Victor growing as who he is as a person, and also like what his sexuality means to him in this grand scope of like him discovering who he is as a person.
Yeah, that's great. For the producers, can you guys talk about where you wanted season 2 to pick up? I don't know if it's direct pickup, some time passed, kind of where do we find everybody when season 2 begins?
Yeah, we're definitely doing a direct pickup. When you kind of cut to black mid-scene like that, if you don't return to that scene, your audience is a little bit understandably frustrated. So we're going to sort of pick up immediately where we left off and see sort of what Victor's family's reaction to him telling them that he's gay is. And then from there, we move through the summer and sort of jump to the beginning of the next school year, our gang's junior year of school. So we sort of learn where everyone's been, what everyone's been up to, and then dive right back into to Creekwood and the world where sort of our teen stories live.
And talking about some of the other characters, because the one great thing about the first season is, besides everybody who's here today, everybody on the show is so appealing, and you're rooting for Felix and Lake and all the other, Mia, all of that. Where are we seeing some of those characters in season 2, as much as you can preview?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always important for us to give everyone something juicy to play, especially because, like you said, we do have such a brilliant ensemble. Everybody deserves something great. We're playing a really complex, beautiful story between Felix and his mom this season that I'm really excited for people to see, that gets pretty emotional and heartbreaking at times, but that's all I'll say. I don't want to give anything else away. Mia has her own really interesting romantic journey this season, as well as stuff going on in her household that sort of is pushing her to the brink at times. I'm trying to be vague but exciting, guys. What else?
Yeah, and I'll say we also have we just have such an incredible cast of adult characters who are returning. You know, in addition to Anna and James, we have Leslie Grossman, Mekhi Phifer, and Sophia Bush coming back, and then we're adding to our cast Betsy Brandt as Felix's mom, and I was so excited we got her. We're huge fans of hers. And she gives such a powerful performance, and we get into a really, really complicated story between mother and son about mental health this year. And I think she just exceeded our very high expectations. Yeah,
it's all exciting. We'll get back to some season 2 teases here in a second. I want to ask just what you heard from the audience. Michael, Anna, George. In a world of social media, you get reactions right away, and when the whole season drops and people just devour things. Michael, I'll start with you. What were you hearing from fans and maybe other teenagers who could really relate to what Victor was going through?
Well, honestly, I think the coolest thing was that I started getting a whole bunch of like love Simon messages, you know, where it's like, hey, like, or it's like, you know, like I got so many messages from people basically telling me their stories and like how this show affected them and in what ways like they were going to try to navigate the world because of this show, or like basically what it has inspired them to do, or what it's, you know, like basically just seeing how much of an impact this has made on so many people's lives. Like that's insane to me, you know, like I think that's like the best feeling any artist could have, is just seeing that your art makes an impact on people.
George, did you hear from a lot of fans? Teenage fans?
Yeah, and I still do. Like, it's kind of been amazing. Even when the show went worldwide and like everyone around the world got to see it, it was amazing that the fact that this show is reaching people and having an impact on people like across the world. And I think that just really speaks to the fact that it was really time for a show like this. And it's just, at first it was kind of like, whoa, this is like kind of overwhelming. This is amazing. Like there's so many, I'm hearing from so many different people, and it's amazing that this is connecting to people on this level. And I still feel really honored that I'm part of a project that is having that impact, you know, because it's hard to book a job as an actor. And then when you book one that like does have this impact, it's really special. So I don't take it for granted.
Yeah. Anna, did you hear from people, you know, adults and parents?
I did. I heard from a lot. I heard from a lot of young people, and they were what it was. I'm so glad that I can sit down with my family and watch the show. I'm desperate to watch something that all of us can watch together. A, and B, this is sort of my entree into how I have this conversation with my mom or with my dad. It was mostly with my mom. I don't know if that's just my people, but you know, and it was mostly about like, this was my entree into having this conversation. And this was, you know, I see my mother in you or in Isabel. So for me, that I got a lot of that. And then of course, just so much love. And then just, of course, way too much stuff about how hot Michael is. And like, oh my God, Diane's back every day.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm like, oh, he's my son. Get out of here.
I love it.
Oh, goodness.
That's great. You know, Love, Simon comes up frequently when we talk about the show. And there have been connections because we did get to see Nick on the show for a season. He's a producer on the show. What will we see in season 2, as much as you guys can talk to? Do we still see some of that connective tissue with the film?
Yeah, Simon and Victor still have their like mentor mentee, pen pal, whatever you want to call it, relationship. So Nick is back in that sort of responding to the DM's capacity this year.
And yeah, we have some fun cameos coming up, but I don't think we'll say what they are, but we have them. We think people will find them exciting.
And I want to ask about the tone of the show, because I know it did start with Disney Plus, but now that it's on Hulu, where's the line as far as like how adult this can get? Because, you know, people are dating, you assume they're doing other things in the bedroom, but is that something we see at all, or do you guys want to kind of keep it at a certain level for audience members?
No, we're definitely going to go there, and like in a really organic way, not in a let's just be explicit for the sake of being explicit way, but we want the show to feel authentic and to feel authentic to its characters. And so as they grow up and as they get into relationships and move through high school, the show is going to sort of grow up alongside them. And so in season 2, when we come back, our gang are juniors. There's some serious relationships, and of course the questions of sex and virginity and all of that are raised, and the show is going to explore that.
Okay. George, I want to talk a little more about Benji. I feel like there's a lot more to know about him. Do we get more in season 2?
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely see some of his family background that comes into play, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. Just checking. Yeah, you see that. You see a lot more of that. Also, maybe some more on the music front, because for me, that was definitely something that I connected to with Benji, was like my love for music. So it's cool that gets to sort of crop back up again. And yeah, that's some of the things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And based on what? Go ahead, Anna. Go
I was
ahead.
just saying, I get to fight with him, so that.
We do, yeah. And then, yeah, no, it was nice. Like the day where you and I got to have that was really nice. Like,
Yeah.
to work with you in that way was.
I loved it. I loved it.
We were all like sitting there like tapping us.
We were really going for it that day. Yeah.
What is the vibe like on set for you guys? I mean, it seems like you guys all get along great. It'd be a lot of fun, but the show does have a lot of drama that could just weigh things down. Does that ever get in the way of things, or is that a good day when you get to do the dramatic stuff?
I always think it's a good day when we get to do that, for sure. Yeah. No, but it always feels like a fun set, but I think everybody also takes it seriously and wants to honor these characters. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about this set, actually, is that, there's a lot of drama and there's comedy and there's everything, but I think everyone in this cast takes it so seriously, but not to the point of closing off. In other words, we all want to be there for each other. We all want to be there for each other in the scene. It was such a sort of symbiotic thing. Like I could tell when somebody needed space or not. And then of course with COVID, you just had space. But it was, these kinds of ensembles come along very rarely in my experience. And this was one of the best. And it starts with Isaac and Elizabeth and Brian and everybody. And then we just, even when I wouldn't see the young people, but then I would see, Mason, like the mayor of Creekwood. And it's just like we just saw each other yesterday. And it's just a beautiful experience. And it leaves you so much trust in the scenes then, really, to just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Anna, I want to ask about Isabel a little bit because she's also going through a separation. We didn't touch on that too much. Can you talk a little bit about where we see her as far as that goes? I know she's dealing with her feelings about Victor, but she's also got a marriage that she either, could come back together or she could be out there, dating. Who knows?
Puerto Rican girls don't give up without a fight.
Oh no.
I like to see her try. Take my man. I think, in all seriousness, I think once Isabel realized what was at stake and the fact that she could conceivably, lose everything, lose it all, that's when she realized, what she really did want, what really did matter to her. And it was just an incredible journey to go through. And there's a lot there this season. I'm not going to spoil it, but count on your girl. Count on your girl.
That was so dramatic. With the glasses, the
count on your girl.
For the writers, how I know we're getting all 10 episodes all at once, but how much do you think about even beyond? Like, let's hope this series lives for a long time, but when you're crafting one season, are you also kind of keeping an eye on like where it could go even beyond? Hopefully you'll get that. But do you think about that a lot and how that shapes season 2?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the nicest things about getting to work on season 2, as much as I love the experience in season 1, was that everything was toward a future in season 1 where you could be writing not about a closeted character who is acting sort of counter to his own instincts, which was my story as well. It was like, but it's so hard to tell stories where the character is acting against what they actually want because they haven't figured it out yet. They're struggling with that. And then in season 2 gets to live this sort of out gay experience, the experience that I wish I'd had in high school, that I'd been brave enough to have. This character is both simultaneously representing a more modern sort of contemporary thing where more and more kids are comfortable coming out in high school and living this life. But I think for an older generation like myself, it's like a wish fulfillment thing. You get to see like what it might have been like to be this brave. So yes, we're always sort of looking with an eye toward future seasons on where this can go, not just the problems that you might run into, but also these experiences that I think especially LGBT audiences would like to see represented for young people.
Yeah, I mean, I think high school, it's such formative and also transformative years that I think it was very interesting for us to think sort of from the very jump, like, who are these people when we meet them and who are they going to be a few years from now? And I think, not that we know all the answers, but that's sort of the core of everyone's journey here. And I think we definitely do have notions of where we want everyone to end up, 20 seasons from now. but yeah, we do have those kernels sort of ready to go.
Okay. I'm going to ask the actors, what would be something you'd like to tell your character, maybe at a point of frustration with them, like for the choices they're making, or what advice would you give them? George, I'll put you on the spot first. What's something you would like to say to Benji, or some advice you'd like to give him?
That's a tough one.
I know I put you on the spot first, sorry.
I feel like Benji's more sort of confident than I am sometimes. So I don't know what I tell him. I think I would say, I'll have to think about that one. Come back to me.
Okay, we'll come back. Michael, what about you? What would you like to say to Victor, or some advice you'd give him?
I think the biggest overarching theme of this whole season is Victor trying to figure out how to follow his heart and like really try to listen to his intuition and listen to just to be able to trust in himself. And I think that would probably be the best advice I could give him, because he's trying to figure out how to navigate that world of trusting himself. And that's exactly what I would tell him.
Okay. Anna, how about you for Isabel?
I would tell Isabel that it's okay to let go a little bit, that she doesn't need to sort of control everything and keep everybody so, tight and close. I think that's something that happens in my family as well. Like, I don't want to let my kids do anything. But I think I would say, let them go and trust them.
Okay.
I think I would tell Benji to think about things from outside his perspective and think about other people's perspectives a little bit.
That was a good one, actually.
I had to really think about that for a sec, though. So.
That was a good one. The one you came back with was great. So.
Anna, I've only seen a few episodes of season 2, and I won't spoil anything, but her reaction is very much my mother's reaction, where in some ways she couldn't even really articulate what she was going through, and it brought back a lot of those memories. And without giving too much away, do you think she even knows why she's having some issues with her son?
I think she's so set in her way of thinking, and she's so set in, I think just from being a parent, you have such strong ideas of like what you want for your kids, what happiness means in your mind, you sort of put on them. And I think that that's what she is. She's like, oh, well, your life is going to be a series of it's miserable. You're going to be fighting. It's going to be terrible. Everybody's going to think you're gay, and I guess for her, that's just sort of, I think it's, the thing is that I taught, and I think Brian and I talked about this, is so much more about maybe what she thinks, how people are going to perceive her as a parent. Like, how could you let your kid be gay? You know what I mean? Like, and it's not even, we all understand that that's not the situation, but I think that that's something that I worked with Isabel, is that she was just really worried about his life being so difficult, and also, to her shame, how people are going to perceive her, how people in the church are going to perceive her, what they're going to think of her. Is she a good mother? She's a terrible mother, that kind of a thing. So,
yeah. I kind of wish I was a little fly in the wall in you guys' writer's room, because I'm sure everybody's sharing all their stories for the people that are gay, or maybe the people that have gay friends. What is it like? I'm guessing this last year was maybe a virtual writer's room, but what are some of those conversations like with all the writers?
It's exactly as you said, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say it was a virtual writer's room. We both seasons, season 1 and season 2, we had a largely LGBTQ room. So the fly on the wall thing you did, we heard a lot of people's individual stories about what it was like coming out. Some people with religious parents, some people with harder experiences than others. You know, and it's nice to get to put some of that experience into the dialogue. So I know, like, for me, there was a piece of dialogue that entered in episode 5. I can, you know, in the moment when it happened, it was so gratifying to hear spoken, but it had to do with this idea that the parents thought they knew so much about me. And then this revelation felt like a surprise, like we didn't know you, or we didn't, you know, this, how, and so there was like a self-shame of like, how could I have missed this? But also, like, is this person a stranger to me? And the answer was no. But it's like it's so changing to your perception that it creates a distance that has nothing to do with how much you love somebody. So we got to tell, you know, these sort of very specific, well observed moments that everyone had gone through, and just sort of funnel them into our characters' experiences.
Okay. And Elizabeth and Isaac, I'm guessing a lot of the stories came from those conversations.
Yeah, and we're also very big on, you know, you can only have so big of a writer's room, and our show tries to encompass a lot of experience. So whenever there's something in the show that we can't speak to directly as a collection of writers, we're always very big on bringing in outside resources to help us get it right or make sure it's rooted in truth. So, you know, season 1, we brought in a bunch of gay straight alliances from different area high schools to talk about what it's like to be LGBTQ and in the closet or out as a teenager today. And that really informed a lot of the stories. And then season 2, we brought in some parents from PFLAG, which is a group for parents of queer youth. And they spoke about what it's like as a parent, specifically some of the really devoutly religious members of PFLAG. And that so helped us get inside of the story for Anna and James and just understand what these parents go through when they do really love their children unconditionally, but they also love their religion. And that's a huge part of their identity. And their religion is telling them that being gay is wrong. And that's just those two competing schools of thought are so hard to to reconcile in someone's brain.
Yeah. Elizabeth, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think audiences and teen audiences are very savvy, and I think they can pretty quickly sense when something doesn't feel authentic. So we're sort of always striving to tell stories as authentically as possible. And we've found that the easiest way to do that is just to listen to people's stories and to sort of speak to the people going through these things. So like Isaac and Brian said, it really was that combination. It was everyone in the room feeling safe enough to sort of speak about their own lives and tell their stories, and then bringing in the people that are sort of going through this today. And I think that was so invaluable. And I think, you know, hopefully audiences felt it when they watched. It felt like, oh yeah, this is my experience. I relate to this. I think, you know, that combo helped that shine through.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been such a fun chat. Thank you for joining us for this special Paley Front Row presented by Citi conversation with the members of the wonderful cast and creative team behind Love, Victor, which is back for season 2 on June 11th on Hulu. And you can learn more about the Paley Center by visiting paleycenter.org. Thanks for joining us today. And you guys, thanks for joining me for this conversation. I really loved it. Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you
so much, Jim.